What other magic can we do today? Well, we are going to write an equation given its roots. So that means we're going backwards of what we have been doing. I know, math is so much fun, forwards and backwards. Okay, so just a quick review so you remember what we did previously. But we are going to determine the roots of the following equations. Remember, roots, zeros, these are the same thing. Okay, that means that what are the values of x when y is 0, or what values of x would make y 0. Okay, so to solve this, we set y equal to 0 and we factor. Okay, so I'm not going to go through that portion, but so we have 4 and 3, so -4, +3. And when we solve, we get x equals 4 and x equals -3, right? Because we set each of those equal to 0 and we solved. So what we're going to be doing now is, if I'm going to give you the roots, if the roots were given to you and you have to go backwards and figure out what this equation is. That's the idea behind today. So just as an example, so I can show you how to do it with the one we just did. Should I leave that up there? Sure, why not? Okay. What we do is, if I give you x equals -3 and x equals 4, basically what we have to do is redo each step. So what we do is I like to just say solve for 0, or get everything to one side, however you want to work it. But if I solve for 0, that means that I'm going to bring the 3 over here, and I'm going to have x plus 3 equals 0. That's 0 is on this side, everything else on this side. This is our factor. This is a factor. So this was the root where we have x equals, and now I have a factor. And that's what I want if I want to write the equation. So same thing with this one. I would subtract 4 and bring it over, and I have x minus 4 equals 0. Now this is a factor. Okay, so these two factors are going to give me the equation that I want. So if I have this, I'm just going to be simply multiplying. So you do the multiplication and do all the math, and you wind up getting x squared, and then 3x and -4x minus 1x, or minus x, minus 12 equals 0, but we want to go back to the original, so it's going to be y equals. Okay? And that's the idea. We got to, given the factors, I'm given the roots here, find the factors and multiply them. That's in a nutshell, that's what you have to do. So we're just going to run through a few examples of this. So if our roots are x equals 5, I don't know how this happens all the time. X equals 5 and x equals -5. I'm sorry, -2. So what we do here is, sorry, I just got a message and it was weird. Anyway, subtract 5. We set it equal to 0, or get everything to one side. And now we have our factor. So we go from this root of x equals -2 and x plus 2 equals 0. And we have our x plus 2 as our factor. So now x minus 5, x plus 2, and I just have to multiply these two together. So x minus 5, x plus 2, so it's x squared minus 5x and 2x, that would add to be -3x, and then this is -10 equals 0, but we want to go back to the original. So that equation would have zeros or roots be at 5 and -2. Fantastic. All right, so now what about if the roots are something disgusting, like what we're looking at here? I'm just kidding. It's not disgusting. Okay, so we have x equals 1/2 as my root, and x equals -3/4 as my root. I generally take this negative and move it to the top one. Okay, remember, it can be at the bottom, the side, or the top, and that's just all the same thing. as long as it's only in one spot. And it's best in this kind of problem to put the negative on the top. Okay, so this is what we do. We just have to get this equal to 0. Now, yeah, you could just subtract a half, but then you'd have to deal with these fractions. And we need to have integral coefficients. So we need to have numbers that are whole numbers, not fractions, when we're doing this. So the way that we go about this is we cross multiply here. So I do x times 2, which is 2x, and 1 times 1, which is 1. And then we're just getting it equal to 0, so I'm just going to subtract 1. And that is it. It's not as bad as you thought, is it? So if the root is a half, the factor is 2x minus 1. So same deal here. We cross multiply. So it's x times 4, which is 4x, and 1 times negative 3, which is negative 3. And then I bring this 3 to the other side. And I get 4x plus 3 equals 0. And that's my factor. So now my two factors are 2x minus 1 and 4x plus 3. And I have to multiply them. Yes, and that is where the fun begins. I'm just kidding. It never ends here. So 8x squared, and then the two that we add together are negative 4x and positive 6x. So I wind up getting positive 2x and then negative 3. And remember, we want this to be an equation, so y equals. Okay, and that's it. And that's what we do every time, just multiply stuff together. 8x squared plus, perfect. Alrighty, so let's just do a couple of weird stuff that happens, just to give you an idea. Alrighty, so our roots are 0, so x equals 0, and 1/3 with a multiplicity of 2. So remember, if it's a multiplicity of 2, that means x equals 1/3 twice. So we have 2 of them. Okay, so now we're going to have, there's 3 terms here, so my degree is going to be 3. Remember, the degree always matches the number of roots that you have. So x equals 0 is the first one. Okay, and then we want to just cross multiply here, 3 times x, so that's 3x. And then subtract 1. So we get 3x minus 1 is a factor. This is going to be the same thing for this one. I don't have to resolve it. So 2 3x minus 1s, and then an x. So we are going to multiply this together. And we're going to have our equation. So multiply whatever you want together first. I generally like to do these two first, because it's just what I like to do, but it doesn't matter. Just 2 at a time. So it's 3x minus 1. So it's 9x squared. I'm going to write it here. Negative 3x, so it's negative 6x, and then positive 1. Okay, and then I did these two. These are done. Now I have to multiply that by x. And that's the easiest thing that you could possibly do. You just take the x and distribute it in. So we're going to do y equals 9x to the third minus 6x squared plus x, or plus 1x. That is it. Pretty exciting, right? Just want to make sure you understand the basic pieces. We'll do one more example. And the fun, it never ends. So we have 3 roots, 5, negative 3/2, and 1/4. So x equals 5 is 1. X equals negative 3 over 2. Remember, I put that negative on the top. And x equals 1/4. So x equals 5, that's the easy one. X minus 5 is the factor. Okay. Here we cross multiply. 2x equals negative 3, and then add the 3. So 2x plus 3 is the factor. And then for this one, 4x equals 1, subtract 1. 4x minus 1, is the factor. So now for this one, I have to multiply x minus 5, 2x plus 3, and 4x minus 1. I have to multiply these guys together to get the equation that I want. Now the problem with this is I can only do 2 at a time. So I'm going to choose to do these two. Again, so x minus 5, 2x plus 3. So it's 2x squared minus 10x plus 3x. So it's minus 7x, and then minus 15. So this is a trinomial here. And then I have to multiply that times this binomial. So multiplication gets a little much, but you can do it. You can do it. All right, and then I'll just do it this way. So we have 4x minus 1, and then we have 2x squared minus 7x minus 15, and multiply together. So this is 8x cubed. So see, the degree is 3. Okay, and then 4x times negative 7, so that's negative 28x squared. And so this is negative 60x, no like terms here yet. The like terms come down here. So this is negative 2x squared, so these two are like terms. This becomes negative 30x squared. And then this is positive 7x, this multiplication. These two are like terms, so I get negative 53x, and then this is positive 15. Remember to make it y equals, and we're done. Okay, so you saw me do all these problems. Hopefully you can do them yourself also, and I hope you have a wonderful day.